Hello everyone, today is Tuesday, July 7th, 2020. My name is Evan and welcome back to another midweek market recap video. So we're going to jump right into our market technicals dashboard here, and we can see stocks on the session closed in the red. All of the major indices closing negative on the day. The Russell 2000 nearly 2% down. The NASDAQ 100 trying to hold up as best as possible, down just about 65 basis points. S&P and Dow about 1 and 1.5%. Despite the negative closes today, it's still a mostly green 5-day performance here for the major indices. You can see just the Russell now is starting to move into negative territory, but take a look at the NASDAQ 100, almost 6% higher over the past 5 trading sessions. Remember last week we had the holiday shortened Independence Day week, and markets basically rallied throughout that week and posted some pretty strong gains. If we look at the key simple moving averages here, the IWM has fallen below the 10 SMA. We're above the 50 across the board, and we got a mixed picture here looking at the 200 period simple moving average. Now, if we look at 5-day performance across sectors here, we got communication services, materials, biotech at the top of the list here, 4 to 5% over the past 5 trading sessions. On the downside, we get energy, financials, industrials, all negative or basically flat here over the past 5 days. In terms of major markets, natural gas getting a big bounce and really continued bounce here. It started last week, nice rip off of the lows. Emerging markets still faring very well. S&P 500 also in the top 3. On the downside, VIX, IEF and TLT, so basically treasury bonds, underperforming on a relative basis. So let's jump into the charts here and take a look at what's going on. We are looking at our equity market grid. We have our smart trend filters applied, which is those multicolored dots you see, and price itself are the white dashed lines. So if we start in the top left here and we look at the S&P 500, this is a weekly perspective here. Each bar or each dot represents 1 week worth of trading, and you can see just looking very quickly at the visual colors here and our trend filters, we have been in a bull trend here for the past about 10 weeks, I'd say about now. Let's see, maybe not that long. A little less than 10 weeks, but we've been in bullish trend here. Prices have been mostly higher, although in the short term they've certainly been range bound. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but there's basically been no change here this week. We're still got bullish trend across really all of the markets here. If we look at top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, Russell, NASDAQ, and international here, all faring very strongly and still in the bullish trend on the daily chart. In the weekly chart. If we go to the daily charts now, this is where things get a little more interesting. So if we look at the daily perspective here for the S&P 500, remember we had the sort of mixed picture here about a week and a half ago, where we started to go down into the yellow transition phase. We had some mixed signals there. We got a sell signal on the 26th of June, so coming into the end of the June month, and that lasted for about 2 days before buyers stepped in at support and rallied the market back up to the top end of the range. We ended up going back into transition mode and then bullish. We are currently still bullish. We're pulling back to that now. It seems like we're about to test it over the rest of this week or the next couple of days. We'll see how confident and how aggressive buyers want to step up and support this market. For now, we still have a green bullish signal there. Top right, NASDAQ 100, no change here. I mean, take a look at this from April. This has been a really smooth trend to the upside, good slope to it. I mean, this has been basically your non-stop chase momentum market. Nothing new here that I'm telling you. This is something obviously that's been taking place over the past 3.5 months. Bottom left here, Russell 2000 is where you can see a lot of the headwind and uncertainty is really kind of resting in. The Russell 2000 here has been in this chop zone. We had again that sell signal back on the 25th of June, only lasted for 2 days, went back into chop, and now you can see it's sort of threatening to kind of roll over a bit here again. Looks like we're about to test the buyers stepping in support for the small cap stocks, the Russell 2000, and we want to pay attention to this into the end of the week. That's where most of the headaches are right now in this market. If we look in the bottom right, the ACWX, so this is international here, you can see we're still on a buy signal as of the past 2 sessions. International had a good past 5 or 6 days as well. So that is the current landscape. If we drill down and take a look at some of the price action here, particularly in the S&P 500, this is essentially the range, the picture, the levels that we've been watching was this 3130 to 3140. So if you recall, going all the way back to this day right here, we've talked about it quite a bit, but this was the island top here that formed. We had the gap up on the 5th of June. We had the gap down on the 11th of June. We left 4 days of trading up here with a gap up on both ends of these 4 sessions. And this has basically been acting as resistance up until essentially yesterday, where we finally got a breakout day into this gap here. We arguably filled this gap, maybe not entirely, but for the most part, we came back in and filled this gap. And then, of course, now we see with what today's action looks like is kind of failure to continue and a little bit of indecision here in the short term. So we had a bit of an outside reversal day. We closed at the lows of this session, and now the question becomes 3140, 3130, that general zone here, this resistance area that we just broke out from yesterday, can it actually hold? I don't think the bulls would have wanted to see a retest of this area so soon, but it seems like tomorrow we're going to be getting an answer here to see if buyers can step in and support this breakout to effectively keep the momentum going from Monday's trading session. Now, if they can't, if we do break down from here, if we fall back into this range, then of course you have kind of the old same song and dance that we were in for basically the majority of June here, chopping around in this 5% range between 3,000 and 3,140, and that's going to be that's basically going to be the lesser desirable outcome here if you want to see momentum stay in this market, if you want to see those leaders continue to lead, if you want to see stocks continue to act as best as possible, then we're going to want to see this market stay over 3,130 throughout the rest of this week over the next few days. So that's what I'm going to be paying attention to. We had a strong session on Monday. Then we kind of got a rug pull today where we gave a chunk of yesterday's gains back, and now we're coming back to again a very critical, influential level that the market has been dealing with. So this 3130 to 3140, those are where my eyes are going to be going over through the next couple of days. We'll see how the market acts. If it can hold there, then of course, to the upside here, we've got some green skies above. Obviously 32.30, essentially the highs here back from early June is what I'd be paying attention to, but we'll need to see this area hold here. And excuse me, if we look at the Russell 2000, this is where more of that concern comes in, because we talked about this 144 level in our videos here, and we talked about these 3 sessions of, yes, we did manage to eke out these marginal gains here where we slowly advanced price on all 3 of the past days here on our holiday short week last week. But notice just the sort of dismal open market action where essentially we open up towards the highs of the session and then we close near the lows. Open near the highs of the session, close near the lows, open near the highs of the session, close near the lows. That happened 3 times last week, and now, or I'm sorry, I guess 2 times last week, once yesterday on Monday, and then today here on Tuesday. Again, we open not quite near the highs of the session, but certainly a lot higher than where we closed. So essentially, we're just basically getting the Russell 2000 bleeding out during the market session, while the overnight gap, I guess, is where the majority of those gains are sort of coming from, and then they're being sold off intraday and closing near the lows. Of course, you have a pretty weak looking pattern here. You could probably call this some type of bear flag, or at least a channel breakdown where you're getting a breakdown as of today from this rising kind of little uptrend here into resistance. You're getting a breakdown. So this could very well be a sort of day one breakdown that gets us a move back towards the lower end of this range here around 135 or so. That could be the target here in the in the short to intermediate term, frankly, in the next week or so of trading, if the sellers have some conviction here and get that follow through. So again, I think tomorrow is a pretty critical day here for the S&P 500. Remember, it's really on the bulls to defend this support in here, and for the Russell 2000, you know, this is a different story where this has already kind of suffered the breakdown. It's already gotten the rejection here at resistance, and now it's just a matter of putting in a higher low and not totally rolling over. Now, of course, when we look at the Russell, that looks a little bleak there, but when we look and compare it to the other side of the NASDAQ 100, this is obviously where the pillar of strength has been. We have a clear outside reversal day here today. We tried to push up and continue in this trend to new highs. We rejected that and closed near the lows. We've seen a lot of these little fits and starts here. I mean, frankly, Thursday of last week, you know, we saw the attempt to move up. We closed near the lows, and then the trend just kind of continues, and there's no meaningful follow through in this market. That's been the trend. That's been the pattern here for the Russell. For the NASDAQ 100. We'll see if that continues, but it's still, you know, obviously trading at its all-time highs, just off of its all-time highs. Very strong here, and it's just, you know, quite frankly, very isolated, and it's behaving very differently than lots of other areas of the market. So the NASDAQ 100, really, when you take that, it's the other side. It's the bullish kind of lens here, right? If you want to talk up the good side of the market, just point to the NASDAQ and everything's good. If you want to be a bear and you just want to talk your book, you can just point to the Russell 2000. So you gotta look at everything holistically here, and just see that there's lots of mixed signals, as there really has been for the past couple of months. Again, we can look back at the S&P 500 and this general market here and say there really hasn't been a whole lot of forward movement. It's been mostly sideways, choppy, noisy trading, and then of course you have the NASDAQ 100 and select stocks continuing to power higher. So that is the the high takeaway here for the market. If we look at a couple of other markets, if we just go to some of our other screens here and take a look at, I'm not really going to talk about credit at the top two, but if we look at volatility here, you can see volatility starting to, it had an up day today. Let's go to a daily chart on all these. It had an up session today, but it is still printing bearish trend here. So it is, again, just not in a position to get too excited about right now, but it does look like, again, it's ready to test that trend over the next couple of days. You can see TLT perking up now here as well, going back into bullish to neutral, just kind of holding on to those two spots here. So again, the benefit of the doubt pretty much goes to buyers here for the TLT. And then if we go to commodities here and you take a look at, again, the daily chart here, you have gold also, which is in this nice cleanup trend. So while the equity markets are trying to break out, you basically have TLT and gold, which is your risk off or real safety haven asset classes, which are continuing to hold up as well. So again, more kind of mixed signals out there. Again, I think ultimately at the end of the day, we can just fall back and defer to the trend signal as being the ultimate sort of arbiter right now. And basically, for the most part, you're getting that green signal in a lot of different markets right now. Silver, top right, you can see continues to perform. USO bullish trend as well, and commodities continues to work here and has a nice positive slope to it as well. So that, I think, really kind of covers up the full thoughts there. Basically, we'll see what kind of follow through, if at all, sellers can get tomorrow. The IWM here will be something to pay attention to. The S&P 500 back up at its support resistance area that we're going to see if that can hold on. So that's it for me. Thanks as always for tuning in. Every Tuesday we do short midweek videos just like this. Fridays are long form market recap, and tomorrow on Wednesdays we do some swing trade ideas. So make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, or you can always follow us at thetraderisk.com. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next video update.